Welcome back to the Beyond Face Value podcast, the podcast where we uncover the stories behind successful entrepreneurs and businesses. I'm your host, Hannah Swan, and each week we dive into the real journey to success. So let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Beyond Face Value podcast. And on today's episode, I have the gorgeous Nancy with me.
Hello.
Who is the founder of many businesses, the Belle Brush, Belle Hair, Belle Extensions, Visi Belle, everything.
Yes.
You have a lot going on. Thank you for joining me.
Not at all. All bells.
Yeah, all Belle. Belle.
Literally, yes.
Oh, that's good. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I am Nancy. I'm 32 years of age and I'm the owner of Belle Hair Extensions, Visi Belle and the Belle Brush.
Brilliant.
So we're almost 10 years in business, 10 years next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it has been a roller coaster and I
imagine.
still don't feel qualified to sit in this chair and tell other people about me, but we're going to give it a shot. Yeah.
Brilliant. And give me a bit of an insight into your life before you started your business. How did you develop your business and where did the idea spark from?
I was always in a customer facing role and I loved it. I started work when I was 14. I don't know if that's even legal now.
Yeah.
In a local clothes shop that I would say really shaped my life. I knew from a very young age, I suppose, how to communicate. We used to sell Deb's dresses and Mother of the Bride and things like that. So at a very young age, I was communicating a lot with people and I adored it. But after my leaving cert, like most of the country at that point, I got up and left to go to Australia, and I did a year in Oz and a year in New Zealand, and I kind of worked in clothes over there. But I then actually got into door-to-door sales. Oh. So I was your local milkman. So I used to knock on people's doors and be like, yeah. And I think that once again shaped me from the sales point of view and rejection, definitely. And I done 2 years of really good fun, getting to know myself, and I decided to move back home and go to college.
Yeah.
So I have a degree in event management and PR, and it definitely wasn't for me to as such, even though it's a huge part of my job. I definitely wasn't a school or college kind of gal.
Yeah.
Just didn't work for me. I was since diagnosed with dyslexia, and just concentrating on writing down,
it's a no-go.
It now all makes sense. And I then was away on holidays. I was working kind of in event management, PR side of it while in college, and I just remember thinking, God, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And somebody, scary call at that moment was like, well, what's the one thing you love? Like, that's a genuine question. Nobody really asks that.
No.
And I was like, hair extensions. in a funny way. In a funny way, I was like, that's what I love. Because growing up, I hated my hair. And I even say this to people in the salon. I remember hating my hair right back to national school. And I have a best friend, Angela, who I absolutely adore, but she is the best hair in the country. She has long, beautiful hair down to here. And as kids growing up in an age where there was no social media, I was like, why is my hair like that? So it was something that I suppose I have made a hatred of mine into something that I love. And that is where hair extensions came into it. And I remember travelling up to Dublin, getting my first ever set of extensions and coming out crying. And it was happy tears. I was like, this one thing I've hated about myself for so long is now fixed. I want to pass this on to other people. Yeah. So that night, I had a few drinks down in me and I text my mum. I was like, I want to do a hair extension course. And she was like, whatever, Nancy, you know.
Tell me that in the morning.
But it was like maybe 2 days later, and maybe it was a day later. And I found a course and I was like, I want to do it. And I'd done it that week. I was like ready to go. And probably maybe 2 hours into that course, we got a break. I went to the shop, I rang my mum and I said, I have found what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
I just knew it. I knew that this was for me. So that is where it all started.
Yeah. And as someone now celebrating 10 years in business, what would you say has been the key to longevity and growth in your business?
Do you know what? There's no secret recipe. Be a good person, have good intentions, be kind. And at the end of the day, your clients are your bread and butter. Like, I adore my clients. And when I started off, I used to do consultations in my car outside GMIT. Literally, like, I had no fancy space to do it. There was no such thing, believe it or not, as Instagram. Instagram
That's crazy,
didn't
isn't
exist.
it? Yeah.
I'm like, I'm only 32. Like, I'm not
You're not ancient.
I'm not
like,
ancient.
no.
So I really had to bring out that customer service for somebody to trust me to get into my car. Think about that.
Yeah.
You know? So that is where I think a huge part of the 10 years has come from, is just communication skills. It's so important. And I made it my mission, every client that came to me, that they would feel so comfortable within my space for that appointment that I would hug them at the end. That was my goal.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to get this client to hug me.
Yeah.
You probably know the
Oh
same
God,
in your
yeah.
salon.
I've had people that have cried, like laughed, hugged me, like
totally.
Yeah.
And when that's your goal and you've got good intentions, it's probably going to work out.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously we're going to touch on, I think, the way you have loads of businesses. You've 3 businesses.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about that from start to finish. Which was the first one, the second one, the third one, and how are you dealing with 3 businesses?
Yeah, so the first one was Belle Hair Extensions. That was me physically doing extensions, and within that journey I wanted to develop our own hair extension line and trade it out to other salons. I then pulled back on that side of it because I was like, oh wait, I don't want to give my brand to just anybody. It was real precious to me. Belle Hair was mine, and that's when I was like, this isn't working. And I parked that. I allowed the salons I wanted, but I parked it. So we've been turning away stockists for years. And that's an important part with how I treat my businesses, is if I'm not 100% confident on what I'm doing, I'm happy to just scrap it. So we kind of scrapped that, left it to the side, but I knew I wanted to revisit it, which is what we're doing this year. But the salon then, that is the one that's nearly 10 years of me physically doing extensions. I think the salon is about 8.5 years old, because like that I was doing them from my car and then my little college apartment, and I was travelling to people's houses. Then the Belle Brush was born 7.5 years ago. And that came from, there was no hairbrush on the market specifically for hair extensions. And remember, there was no online beauty shops back then. You didn't do your hair care, your beauty shopping online.
No.
Once again, I'm not ancient, but like...
It would have been a lot in salons and stuff for that they supply and stock, yeah.
So I used to send people their aftercare sheet, and I'd be like, get this brush for going over your extensions, this brush mid-length to ends, and this brush for blow drying. You'll need to go to X, Y, and Z to get those brushes. And one day I was like, why don't I look into this? So that's where the Belle Brush started, and I realised of a trade show called Cosmoprof, which a lot more people are aware of.
I'm going to it in March.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So we flew over to Italy, and I remember it being a massive move at the time, and we met that supplier at the time, or the factory we were working with, and we started the journey. And the Belle Brush, it's funny, like, it's been such a journey. It's been really, has had many ups and many downs. But in its 7th year, we've had our most successful year yet.
Wow.
So it's, when people say, God, it's doing really well, my answer is, it's about time.
Yeah, thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
So that was number 2. And number 3 is Invisibelle. So Invisibelle launched back in 2019, when maybe 2018, but mainly 2019, where we brought out our set of clip-ins. So we do really high quality clip-in extensions, and that was focused on clients who wanted a break from their extensions or who weren't ready to commit to them. So I was like, I wanted to bring a really high quality hair extensions to market that people can clip in at home, because clip-in extensions, I think especially in my era, and anyone watching this will remember the first set of clip-ins we ever had, and they were like rat's tails coming down. I was like, I want to scrap that association with them. So we're mainly targeted towards brides. That's what a lot of our clients would be in the Invisibelle world. But this year we will be supplying wefts, eye tips, flat tips and tapes, the best quality, to whoever wants to get them.
Amazing.
So I want to be, the biggest hair supplier in Ireland. And that's the first time I've said that out loud. But I'm so ready.
Yeah.
We're so ready. The business is so ready. I have 10 years behind me. I've scrapped it once because it wasn't good enough. I'm good enough now.
Yeah, good. And it's great as well to be in a position that you feel good enough to be able to say that now. Do you know you can back yourself up?
Self-worth and self-belief. If you don't have that, you're nothing. And that's something I've really learned in the last year. I actually thought about closing down my business this time last year.
Wow.
I was a new mum. I was exhausted. I'm still exhausted. I was way more exhausted.
You will be for the next 18 years.
Absolutely. I had no belief left in myself. The business was going downhill, both of them. And I just remember having this moment, very particular moment actually, in the salon, where we were told that we would have no electricity for 3 months. There was this thing that was gone in the estate that we were in, and it had to be made. It was going to take 16 weeks. We were 4 weeks into the electricity going on and off. We were cancelling appointments left, right and centre. We had a generator in the middle of the salon doing people's curls up at it was a disaster. And I had just a really, really horrible couple of months. Everything that was thrown at me was thrown at me. And I remember, my mum ringing me and she was like, Nancy, you're just not getting a break. And I was like, how much more can I take? And I was like, is this my out? Because this would be an easy out.
Yeah, it's an excuse kind of that you would have.
And in that moment, I was like, how dare you even think like that, Nancy? And from that moment forward, I have just...
Tunnel
vision. And that is so powerful. Yeah.
And I think something that is incredible after all your hard work is that the Belle Brush was featured in Vogue.
I know. Like Kylie Jenner's one before
Vogue?
Was that? Yeah, I know.
That is incredible.
Insane. I genuinely believe Nicola Coughlan has been in my life for a couple of years, but that was meant to happen when it happened. She's one of our best salespeople. Whatever movie or series she's working on, she has the hair director contact us and is like, Nicola has not stopped talking about you. Can I get some brushes?
That's incredible.
So she's such an amazing, she's such an amazing person, honestly. She really, really is. And what she done for us was so invaluable. Oh my God, so invaluable. And with Nicola putting us into beauty secrets in Vogue, it was the knock-on effect. So
I can only imagine.
Insane. And the international customers, I think we had more international customers order in one day than we had in our 7 years of business.
Wow.
And that's where TikTok started to explode. Yeah. And the thing is, and it's something I think is important with business, we don't have the most followers on TikTok. We don't have the most followers on Instagram or anything like that. And I think people will judge themselves, that business is doing so much better. It's actually what we have is just a really good community and group of people that support us. So it's very easy to get caught up in, I wish I had more of this, that and the other. Whereas the people she sent to us are legends. Legends.
Incredible. And how was that knock-on effect for you? How did you deal with that? And, how has it elevated the business and brought it to the next step?
I was on holidays at the time and I remember getting the notification, the Belle Brush is in Vogue. And then I was like, oh my God, the Belle Brush has linked it, or Vogue has linked it. And I was like, it's beauty secrets, the biggest platform she could have put us on. Then I was like, it's a video. This is just insane. So I then took a video of myself within that moment being like, what's going on? And then that went viral. And then the next video went viral. So the knock-on effect of that has just been amazing. But you know what it's given as well is sometimes within your own business, and you'll know this as well, even though your customers are rallying you on, sometimes you're like, am I doing this right? Or, you don't have somebody to get you up in the morning, go up and at it, girl, things like that. Whereas that's what she gave me. She gave me something to run with. Yeah, and so grateful. So grateful.
Incredible. Yeah. And obviously because you've been in business so long, something that I always love to touch on is everyone has such highs and lows. What has been one of your lowest points and what has been one of your highest points?
Lowest point was definitely last year in the business. It was, almost giving up. Like, to think of that now just seems so crazy. But it was a really tough stage. And when you don't have that self-confidence, and you know, that's when I think you let negativity creep in, and maybe you let the wrong people's opinions creep in. And that's a tough place to be in business, especially when you have a big team. You're really responsible. And that's something that I don't take for granted, is I know my performance every day affects other people that are involved in the business. So I always tried to give it my all, and I didn't last year. That was tough. My highest highs are the couple of months that followed it. They were so close together. So it just goes to show you. But there's been loads. There's been so many. Yeah. Like,
it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And how was the transition going from, you know, someone who just owned a salon to then going into product development and going on to owning more businesses? Because I feel like, knowing that myself, you know, having a salon and then going into product development, they're like new worlds, even though you're so familiar with the products you use and stuff. How was that transition into going from just owning a salon to now having a big team and products and stockists? And
I never thought about the transition.
Neither did I,
like, it just felt right. At the end of the day, my goal is to have products and services that make my clients feel better. And if that is my client who is buying it in Brown Thomas that I've never met before, but that I know by her having my Belle Brush that helps her in the morning, whether it be love her hair or brush her daughter's hair or her son's hair, that's my job. So when I'm thinking about new product development, or I'm thinking about, you know, branding, or what's the next move, really it always goes back to the client. And I think that's so important. I think within business, it's easy to get caught up into, and trust me, I have, I'm going to pay a PR agency, or I'm going to put on this amazing event, or I'm going to move office, or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, your customers, your clients, your people who are buying your products, whatever bracket of business you're in, they need to be the most important thing, you know? And that's something I learned from the start. The packaging that we have 7.5 years later is the packaging we had when it started. We did not have a fancy design agency. We had no marketing agency. My best friend, who is my business partner, had a college course done where she learned a little bit of design on Photoshop. Our first pictures on the website, I have to try to find the video. We hung the Belle Brush in my kitchen on a piece of string and had a white board behind it, and we took photos, and they were our e-commerce photos. Just start. Just start. It doesn't have to be fancy.
I've done things like that. I've literally ordered like photo boxes off like Shein and taken pictures and stuff.
100%. Like, I remember my stepdad gave me really invaluable advice, and I can't exactly remember how he put it. I must ask. And I think it was at the time I was moving from my spare bedroom to my salon. And my first salon was a storage unit that we made a salon in an industrial estate, not too far off of this. And he was like, I don't think he had seen it yet. You know, just remember, the fancy office doesn't always win. They're just paying for a fancy office. So it's the work you produce inside, the customer service you give inside, your products you have inside, that is key. So I think that allowed me to build up that little bit of cash reserve to then go on to the Belle Brush, to then go on to the second salon. I'm constantly reinvesting in my business, constantly, you know, it, and even more so since I've had my son, all of those materialistic things, actually, I'm like, out
the window.
Ick. Like, get them out the window. Like, even the few things that I have treated myself, I'm like, depop them. It's so strange. Whereas now that I have a purpose, I want to like leave a legacy onto him and that's the tunnel vision.
And what advice would you give to someone that is looking to take that next step and go into product development or something that they are really passionate about?
I think just find what you know you can do the best. That's so important, and it goes back to that self-worth. So for example, we had the opportunity to bring out products. it was either 5, 6 or 7 years ago. You know yourself with COVID, it's like, what?
Yeah, it's all a blur.
It's all a blur. I think it was 2018. Maybe it was even 17. We started developing a serum or an oil. That's something that's really important for hair extensions. And we then, like that, you go to these trade shows and you can buy a bottle of shampoo, pop your name on it and sell it. And I was just like, I will never be able to walk into the room 100% confident and go, that's the best product. Test me. And that's why I never done it. Whereas this year, that's exactly what I'm doing. Like, we are developing the best hair care line that is so good that I want to pass down to my son.
Yeah.
So my advice would be, do it really well. And if that takes a long time, and that's where my business partner has been really good. We're yin and yang. We're friends since school. Sometimes I can be like, oh my God, yeah, amazing. Let's do it. How do I do this? And she's like, Nancy, no, that pink is like half a shade off. And I'm like, Emer, it's only half a shade. It's pink. No, let's get it right. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So like I would jump out a window and she would be like, Nancy, do you know what? Take the stairs. I'm like, yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's where it's really important. But our end goal is always to have the best.
Yeah.
So she pulls me back. Maybe I get a little bit too excited.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm very like that. And my boyfriend's he's very logical, very smart, very good with money and all. Where I'm like, take all my money. Like, I love this sample. Like, and I probably would have had it done 6 months, but it took me 2 years in the end.
Good. There you
go. Do you know
go.
that way?
100%.
Which I'm so happy because like if you look at the product I had before, it was completely different packaging, everything.
There you go.
And now I'm just like so happy. And so it's so useful to have people like that in your life, isn't it?
So important. And I think, you know, that entrepreneur spirit, it's easy to take over. And like that is my advice. It's honestly so easy these days to bring out a product. It really, really, really is. But look at the people that are easily bringing out a product and how long they last. Do you know the amount of hairbrushes I've seen being launched and come out? It's not that easy.
No.
It's not that easy. So like even with our company, we moved our manufacturing over to Korea. That was a massive step for us because they don't do small minimum quantity orders.
No, I know.
So you're going big.
Mine's Singapore and Korea as well.
There you go. Our factory produced some of the most well-known quality hairbrushes on the market. So even sometimes people are like, oh my God, it feels like X. I'm like, and DNA, can't talk about it. And it's like, that's what you want to be reaching for. So look, there's markets for everything, I'm sure. But for us, and my advice, it would be do it once, do it well, and believe in it. Yeah. And I unfortunately got believe tattooed on my foot as an impulsive 18-year-old. But the word believe.
You've always been impulsive.
I've always, the word believe is important. You need to believe in yourself. You need to believe in your team, your product, the whole shebang. Yeah.
Well, at least it's something that stuck to you and you believe in it still.
It's slowly coming off painfully. Like, yes, but just believe. And as you said, you know, when you got it right now, you're so happy.
Yeah, you're so happy.
And that's really powerful. Yeah.
And something that you just briefly touched on was obviously becoming a mother.
Yes.
How
oh my God.
has that been, and how has that kind of added a different dynamic to not just your personal life but your business life? Because I think that's, as someone that's only, like, I'm only 23, so that's something that actually frightens me, because I'm like, how am I going to do that? Like, I'm like, because I live and breathe like my business.
It is the most humbling.
I'd say so.
It's honestly the craziest thing I've ever done. Like, being a mom is just the highest highs and the lowest lows. I definitely suffered with a little bit of postpartum. I'm not going to call it depression. The word is numbness. I had nothing left to give. Finley, my baby, as cute as he is, he hates sleep, always has. So even this morning, 5 o'clock, he woke up. I'm like, dude, it's another hour, play ball, like, you know. And it is hard to juggle. But I would actually say two things. One, it's made me so empowered within myself. I'm like, I grew a baby and got it out of me and rearing him and keeping him alive. I'm class, you know. And then the other side of me is like, if you were taking the time away from my baby, whether that be a meeting, a podcast, work, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to make it worth it. Because I remember early on in the day doing a show, I spoke about it before, on my own Instagram. It was a wedding show in Galway, and I got up on stage. I wasn't prepared. I was wrecked. I shouldn't have done it. I hadn't prepared. Like it was a train wreck. And I remember thinking, I will never allow that to happen to myself
don't
again.
Don't put yourself into that position. Like.
Exactly. And don't take yourself away from your child if you're not going to give your all. So yeah, like any mum will tell you, like you walk down the street and I like see a mum and she's there and her toddler is like, she's holding it by the leg going over and it's just like a smile. I just feel part of this like really incredible group of mums who, yeah, it's incredibly rewarding, but the toughest thing I've ever done in my life, for sure.
I can imagine.
But I do think it's benefited the business because it has to.
Yeah.
I have no choice.
It's one of them
but
things
to
that
make
has to work now. Yeah.
And that's one of the questions was in my head coming up. It was like, you know, what advice would you give, or how do you think your longevity of 10 years? I have no other choice. I have given my blood, sweat and tears and soul and emotions to this business. It's going to work. Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. And obviously something that probably helps you now a bit more is that you have a team. What has that been like, you know, hiring a team and having other people and letting go of your baby, you know, to look after
100%.
your first baby?
I would say that has been one of the biggest learning curves for me over the last 10 years. I can confidently say now I have the best team in the world around me. And it's taken a while to get there. Any business owner will know that. I mean, hiring, firing, like that's not something you can learn. So it's something that I've, I suppose, now experienced with. So if I don't feel like somebody is right for the team, they won't be on the team, you know? And that's not a reflection of our job. It's just a reflection of you can't choose your family, but you can choose your team, you know? And the team around me have the same goal. We all want to be the best. We put our absolute all into it. I would say we're like this little, like, we just get on so well. But also we know that the business has to come first sometimes, you know? And that's where I'm very careful saying, well, for the business, that's not going to work. You know, I'm happy. I wish I could do X, Y, and Z, but for the business, that's not going to work.
You have to be logical. Like.
You have to be logical, yeah. And that's something, once again, I think that I'm just getting qualified to be able to say. I'm so confident in know how I'm running my business. And I heard a saying recently, and it's so true, like never take advice from somebody about what you're doing that isn't ahead of you.
Yeah, or that hasn't done it before.
Exactly. And I think it's very easy for people to, you know, come in and go, like people used to tell me, oh, you're not running your business the way they do it or the way that they do it. And I used to really take that to heart, to be like, God, am I really bad at this? Because I never ran a salon before. And now I'm like, no, it's my superpower. I'm not doing it like everyone else.
Yeah, I don't want to do it like anyone else.
I don't want to do it like anyone else. And not everyone will get that, and that's okay. So yeah, who you surround yourself with, once again, like energy is a massive thing for me. If you're not on the same energy level as me, we're not going to work, you know? And my team are like, you know, we were in doing a live 3 hours this morning and they were just as hyped for it as I was. And I love that. We'll have a great life together. You know, whoever sticks around, like,
you'll be looked after.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm kind of getting the vibe off you that you're a bit of a spiritual kind of person.
I think so. Yeah,
I'd be quite like that as well. So I always kind of find that like a lot of entrepreneurs kind of have that kind of ambition, kind of spirit.
Yeah.
How does that kind of play into your life and keeping positive, you know, through all the hardships that you've gone through? How is that playing a role?
I actually think it's down to my parents, to be honest with you. I think, and maybe this is something I'm more tuned in at now that I'm a parent. I'm a parent.
Yeah.
Still weird. I'm only 18 months into it. Still weird. My mum was always like, be a good person, believe in yourself. That's why I got it tattooed on me. And then my stepdad was always like, work really hard and do your best always, never underperform. And having that two sides of how they raised me, I think made me, I suppose, be positive in a way. I wasn't allowed to be negative, you know? And it was probably over in Australia as well when I had this really weird encounter. Sorry guys, this is the airy fairy now coming out of me. The Secret, obviously.
I love it, yeah.
Love The Secret. And I was to do my farm work, and I ended up in the middle of nowhere. It was the scariest thing ever. There was no phone signal, no nothing. And I was like, we need to get out of here. We were expected to live in like this prefab that, long story short, not livable at all. And it wasn't what we signed up for. And it was quite scary, I'm not going to lie. It was a very terrifying experience. And after hours of begging them to drive us back into the town, we got into this old like truckers town. We were walking along the street and there was just this empty unit with this TV in the window, and it was The Secret was playing. And I just remember having this moment of like, okay, maybe I'm going to really believe in this.
Yeah.
And it's not going to hurt me. And I did. I was just like, I think if you're positive, positivity will come your way.
Yeah.
You know, I really, really do. But I also believe the people who don't believe, I think you're absolutely off your rocker.
Yeah,
you know? So I'm okay with either. Like, I'm okay with either. But yeah, I would say I'm probably a spiritual person.
Yeah.
Positivity attracts positivity. 100%.
And I think as well, it keeps you going. Do you know that way? It gives you that bit of liveliness to keep going every day and remind yourself. Yeah.
If you don't believe that things will work out, you really don't, you know, you really can't keep yourself motivated. Like every day I'm like, this is going to work.
Yeah.
You know?
This is going to work no matter what we're doing.
Exactly, yeah. And, you know, people will talk about goals. Absolutely, I have goals. Sometimes my goal is just to drink my water a day. And other times my goal is like to get a big department store on board. It's different things. But yeah, I've never said I suppose I'm spiritual, but I suppose I am.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think it's a good aspect to have. And you actually briefed on TikTok. You were doing a TikTok today.
Yes.
I was listening to a bit of it.
Yeah.
For 3 hours. Your first TikTok shop.
3 hours. First TikTok shop. And it once again cemented we have the best community. Oh my God. Like the girls on there are like, the Belle Brush is amazing. I'm like, yes. Which is so lovely. And I think like that, you know, because I don't necessarily have somebody over me being like, you're doing a great job. When I see customers being like, it's changed my life.
That's the people telling you you're doing a great job.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I strive for. That is 100% what I strive for. But TikTok is a whole other ball game and you gotta work at it. So I've been really disciplined with myself since maybe I would say July, August of last year, where I'm posting minimum 3 times a week, if not 6 times a week. So yeah, we're slowly growing. We're definitely slowly growing. It's not easy. And what I find quite difficult at the moment is I have to develop content for Instagram Grid, Instagram Story for my own personal one. Yeah. Then TikTok is different because they say it's very much so you should be having 2 different avenues of your social media. And then I have to create content for the business as well. So that kind of freaks me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
But it's what you got to do.
Yeah, has to be done.
Has to be done.
Yeah. And when it comes to the future of your business, I'm sure you have a lot of goals and things in mind.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about the future and where you want your businesses to go.
For the future, do you know what? I was thinking about this on the way and I was like, what exactly do I want? And it's so hard to answer because do I want to be in Sephora? Yes. Does anyone want
Every girl does.
Yeah. Do I want to be in Ulta? Yes. Do I want to break the UK market? Absolutely. That's on my goal list for, realistically, it was going to be this year. We're going through a bit of a packaging glow up, so it's probably going to be next year. They're all things that I really want to do. I want to create a brand that has longevity. It genuinely sits on the shelves for a very, very long time. And I want to create products to bring to market that are accessible. So our whole slogan is hair care made easy. That's at a genuinely affordable price point. Never going to be the cheapest. I don't want to be. I want to use good ingredients. I want to use good materials. But I think there's a huge gap there for that mid-priced epic range, and that's what I'm going after. I don't have this huge need for, I want to own 10 salons. I want to be this multi-million euro business. I want to be happy. I want to be able to put my son to bed most nights. I want to be able to do my exercise class. And I want to be a happy person to be around. And businesses, sometimes that can get so big. I remember, was it Warren Buffett or somebody who has an amazing business? He was like, one of his most successful aspects is that he's still married to his wife, you know, that over the years he didn't lose that. So I don't want to lose myself in growing the business.
Yeah.
And if that means keeping it that little bit smaller than what it might be, so be it.
Yeah. And how do you balance your life now that you have a son, and you know, like that you want to be able to go to your gym classes, you want to be able to do everything? How have you found that balance, or have you found it, or what does help you kind of stay sane?
I'm not sane.
Never. I don't think anyone who runs a business is, to be honest.
Definitely not. Even on the live today, I was like, girls, if we get into this, you're gonna see like how strange we are. Do you know what? I truly believe this. If you can fill your own cup, you can fill everyone else's cup. And that's what I've learned this year. I'm so protective over my time where I can be. And I've brought in reformer Pilates into my life. Now, I am somebody who hates exercise. I actually hate sweating because that means I have to have a shower before work.
And then you have to dry your hair and you have to do everything. Yeah.
So I had a C-section. It made me very weak. I had any mums watching this. I had the C-section pouch. I was like, oh my God, my body, who is this? Like, I put up nearly 4 stone. I just felt horrible about myself. And I remember thinking to be like, it's affecting every aspect. It's affecting my relationship. I feel horrible. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to go in front of camera. I'm not getting excited to go out and about. I need to fix this. And I was like, there's no point in me saying I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm not. I'm running on 4 hours sleep. I need to find something that's flexible. So I took a reformer's Pilates class, and it sounds so silly. It's been life-changing.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. And I would recommend anyone who hates exercise to try it. I am not a gym girly, like never have been. I hate it. And I have loved this. So yeah, building my strength both mentally and physically has felt really good. That then helps me give to others. And that's where I would say I balance my time. I am like, I need to do that for myself. If I don't get back to X emails, if I don't, it has to be done. Yeah. Has to be done. So putting yourself somewhat first. Then in terms of Finley, I really structure my days where I'm like, okay, what hat am I putting on today? I'll always have the mother hat on. But Mondays, Tuesdays and most of Wednesdays are dedicated to the business. I see him in the morning and I see him when I come home from work. But that midday is business. On a Thursday, my mum, she looks after him. So I'm like, that child doesn't want to see me. He's with his granny. So I really focus on the hair side of it.
Switch off,
So I am doing hair on the floor. I do that 1 day a week. And then Fridays, that's my day with him. So I might still have a bit of work to do. Like on Friday, we'll have a TikTok live, but Chris will have him in the warehouse. Yeah. So I think by having a very kind of strict routine, it makes me feel like a good business person and makes me feel like a good mom. Whereas what happened to me is before I had that strict routine, I might be like, oh, do you know what? For Friday, I'll be with Finley. And then somebody might be like, Nancy, will you do X his hair? And I'd be like, oh yeah, sure I can. Chris can look after him. And then that would make me feel guilty. Yeah. Whereas I'm just a little bit stricter on mom hat, business hat.
Yeah, you were trying to be everywhere and do everything at the one time.
Yeah, exactly. And like today, you know, I was in work really early for TikTok. I then drove down here for the podcast. So like I got an opportunity for Saturday where something came up and I was like, no, unfortunately, I can't do it. Because Saturday, I want to spend every minute with him. And knowing I have that gets me through the long days. Yeah. So like, don't get me wrong, the mom guilt is real. I feel guilty about everything. And like for any mums watching this, don't think that I don't. I do. But I'm also like, dude, this is for you. Mom's got to work.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Like, I hope I'll make your life easier one day, you know?
Yeah, and so, that's the goal, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm trying to see, I think we have all our questions. Is there anything else you want to touch on? Because everything can be edited. So,
is there anything else
you'd like to touch on?
I'm trying to think. What is advice or what is things that? I have found helpful? I think I go back to just like always have good intentions, you know, always have good intentions. If you know you're doing your best and you know you're providing the best, customer service is key. Literally, I think that's so important in anything. And I think look at other businesses and what they're doing really well. Like any minute I have, I'm listening to podcasts, and it mightn't be podcasts about my industry. I think one of the questions was any advice you give to opening a hair extension business. And actually how I would answer that is pretend you're not opening a hair extension business, that all businesses grow the same.
That's something that I've learned so much, because like that I have a lash business, but through interviewing so many business people, it doesn't matter what your business is in, we're all running a business.
Absolutely. And it's about, you know, you need to work in your business, but you also need to work on your business. So it's so important to learn everything else that goes outside it. So I might take inspiration from a tech business that has nothing to do with hair, but I'll be incorporating into that. I love listening to podcasts about like psychology and body language and communication and how that works. I'm actually listening to a really good one from Diary, the CEO at the moment. Love him. He's amazing. And I think it's actually the last podcast that went up, which it's just I'm constantly learning, like constantly learning, and that mightn't necessarily be about what I'm doing, you know. But
I think as well it would teach you how to interact with people, how to create a better sale, how to give someone a better experience, and it's a domino effect as to how it can come into your business.
Yeah, and in terms of, I don't ever think that I'm selling, even on TikTok Live for 3 hours when you're trying to make money, but I'm like, no, I'm actually know wholeheartedly that most people will get the product and it will make them happier.
Because you believe in it that much.
I believe in it that much. So that's definitely, you know, I keep going back to it. Like, believe so much in yourself. And until you get to that point, like, it's a hard road. It's nothing about it is easy, and I think it's either for you or it's not. I really do. I think that for me, it's definitely for me. I love the thrill of it. I unfortunately love the hardships as well. I nearly thrive to get better. But also, if you're watching this and you're in that phase of your business or your life where you think you are at the bottom, that's your character building era. Embrace it. I walked every evening for months after my days crying, just crying, literally crying. And to think that I'm now sitting here confidently, I'm like, oh, that was just building me for this. You know, I really, really leveled up after those horrible months. And my best friend as well, she's in business and she had the same thing. She's going through a tough time where it's just rejection and closed doors, and she's like, it's okay, something bigger is coming. Like, yes, girl. You know, so that's
you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel eventually.
Absolutely.
And if people would like to get any of your amazing products or come into your hair extensions, where can we find you? Where can we reach out to you?
The salon is based in Galway. We're very, very proud to be west of Ireland, and it is the most welcoming salon. It's something that's so important to me, and so much thought has gone into it, down to the positioning of our mirrors. Literally, I'm like, nobody wants to be sitting down for 4 hours with long mirrors looking at themselves. It's the tiniest things. So you're going to be greeted with an amazing coffee. Our receptionist is an absolute legend, and we do what we do best. That is extensions. So that's where you'll find us with the salon. If you're thinking of clip-in extensions, or possibly you're a salon looking at this who wants to get into doing hair extensions, that's going to be invisibelle.com. That's where our clip-ins and our trade will be. And then of course we have the bellebrush.com or TikTok, which is a whole new thing. So but I'm Nancy Belle on Instagram, and if you go in there, I have a link tree set up that I think has them all, because it's a very hard question to ask. masks. I'm like, the bellebrush.com,
and this one,
Belle hair dye. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's so much, but type in Belle and you'll find one.
You'll find us there. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Nancy. I really appreciate
it. Not at all. Thank you. It's been so lovely and so nice to talk. And thank you for giving us this amazing space as well. Problem. You know, because we're the people that listen to all these things in the car and go, oh my God, she's feeling the same as me.
I hope they enjoy. Yeah, that's definitely one of the aims of the podcast.
You're doing it. Not at all. Thank you.